Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So the webinar that we're going to do today is talking a little bit about building your annual training plan. So I've talked to a lot of you about your training plan for 2018, meaning what races do you think you want to do, and building a season based on your A races. So we'll talk a little bit more about the details as we go through this, but certainly let me know if you have any questions in this new format. I think this will work out really well because you can watch the webinar at your leisure. So it doesn't have to be on your lunch break at work, and a lot of people couldn't make that. So I think this will work out better. But any feedback is always appreciated. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is just getting started on choosing your races and planning your 2018 season and considering your whole life. So considering everything that you may have going on in your life, you may not even know what those things are at this point, but if you know you have something big coming up, you're shopping for a house and you think you might be moving in the spring, obviously that's going to be a major stress. Even though it's positive, it's still stress, and it will take a toll on you physically and mentally. So it can definitely affect your training. So I also like to talk to people around this time about new goals. So if they've been competing, if you have been competing in, let's say, sprint races this season, you kind of just got your feet wet in sprint races, and maybe next season you want to increase your time or decrease your time and place better in your sprint races and maybe get a personal record or win something in your age group. That would be kind of an interesting goal and something to think about for the next year and figure out how we will get you to that goal. So also, I encourage people to to plan their race list with their family or at least their spouse, and maybe incorporate them into some of the plans. So you'll see this picture here on the slide of John and his family. So John likes to do the Disney Marathon, and I don't know if it's because he likes Disney or he likes to bring his whole family to Disney. I think it's a little of both, but it's a really fun environment and great for planning a family trip around your race. So sometimes it just makes it easier for everyone if you include them and make it fun for them too. So not always dad's going out of town again, but we get to go with dad and go on his vacation. Also on Pace, we have a list from just the last social of some races that a lot of people are considering doing. And so I'll just name the ones that we have more than, let's say, 3 people that are planning on it. And this was just at the social, which we just had, so it's not everyone. For 2018, we had some that are interested, quite a few that are interested in the St. Louis Triathlon, which has sprint and Olympic distance. We have a lot of people that are interested, a handful of people in Chattanooga half in May. Steelhead half, there are a lot of people interested, and that is in August. The Madison half, which I believe is in July. I don't have all the dates. I was just looking at the list because we had people adding to the list. The Ironman races would be Ironman Louisville. It looks like there are a few so far, and Ironman Cozumel. So that's what we're looking at right now, but certainly let me know if there's a race that you really think you want to do and maybe you want to try to round up a group to go. We can definitely try to stir up some interest, but that's kind of what we're starting with right now. And then all the local races, of course, Ultramax, I'm going to encourage a lot of people to do Ultramax. It's a very difficult race, but it's a great experience and a great reason to really work on hills. So we'll talk about that more too in our individual meetings, the races that would be appropriate for you. But it does make it a little bit more fun. Some people like the support of having a group with them to either cheer or race in the same race. Just makes it a lot of fun. So writing a dream list of races and goals for short-term and long-term, I like to kind of think about what city would I like to race in, what would be a really neat one to visit that I haven't seen that has a triathlon. I've heard the Chicago Triathlon, which for some reason I've never done, but I've heard that's just an amazing race. We had a few people do it and just raved and raved and raved about it. Frank May, Bob Willig, Sam Cook, a lot of people did it and just said, we really need to do it as a team next year. It was just unbelievable the way they organized all of these people. So that might be really a different experience for us. Another dream that a lot of people seem to have these days is Ironman. And I like to say, think about where you are and think about the time that it's taken for you to train for the races that you're doing if you haven't done Ironman yet. And do you like that balance that you have right now? If you feel like you're too busy all the time, then maybe it's not time for Ironman. You need to kind of figure out, at what point in your life you'd like to work that in. But still, you could have that dream list. You could have that dream race out there, and then we can figure out eventually when would make sense for you to do that. So keep on dreaming and figure out what intrigues you. So again, goal setting is important in planning your season. So thinking about how you want to improve as an athlete. It doesn't have to be doing an Ironman. That just seems to be a trend, but I don't encourage people to do Ironman. It's a wonderful experience, but I like to see people kind of take their time building up to whatever it is that they want to achieve. So if you just started doing sprints and you need to work on some different things to be more competitive in your age group or to get a personal record, maybe your swim's holding you back, maybe your bike's holding you back, and maybe your run form is suffering or something like that. So, or maybe you are dealing with some kind of a nagging injury. So that would be something that you could do, is work on tackling those things and then go back to doing your sprints again in that season and try to do them faster and more efficiently and place better in your age group. So, and then also I think it's important to make sure, kind of reflect back on your races that you did. And did you follow your plan? Did you follow your Training Peaks plan that I gave you? Did you do all the workouts as they were suggested? Did you have a plan for race day? Because I always encourage a plan for race day, kind of mandatory actually. I like a plan for pacing, nutrition, mental strategy. Some of us need to work on mental strategy more than others, but it's even good for those of us that are strong and confident to work on visualization and just being really tough when it comes to pushing through pain. And there are different kinds of pain that we all suffer through in these races. It's the guys that are doing the sprints and winning their age group, their pain it's a little bit different than those of us who are finishing the race, not for time, but just to finish it. It's not that it's not painful, it's just a different kind of pain, but we have to figure out how to deal with it. And maybe that is a limiter that's holding us back. Maybe we just don't have a high tolerance for pain, and that's something we need to really work on. So getting you out of your comfort zone is something that I can help with. And it could be in intervals, it could be in hills, it could be different things that maybe you are kind of afraid of. So rough water, that's something that we try to get, and that just depends on Mother Nature. But things that scare you, let's tackle those fears and make you stronger in that area. So also, could it be more core strength that could help you with your performance improvement? I say always. So I like to incorporate core strength into your workouts each week. Maybe off season is a time to really get into that habit. So some people I see in their training schedule, they skip the core, they skip the strength, they do the swim, they do the bike, and they do the run, but they skip the other things. But what I'm going to say is those are extremely important. So there's a reason they're in your schedule. They can definitely make you a stronger athlete, and they can prevent injury, especially if they're done properly. So that's why I like to see a lot of you in my classes and make sure that your form is correct. I also offer one-on-one personal training sessions with my clients. My normal rate is $75 an hour, but for my clients, it's $50 an hour. And you may just need one of those just so we can check your form and I can focus on just your limiters alone and make sure that you're moving properly and safely and pinpoint different areas that we need to work on. But the off season is a great time to get started on doing all of that too. So if you haven't managed to fit it in the in season. So let's see, I have some other things that I wanted to talk about off of the slide. Greater balance in your life. So thinking more of, I'm going to actually go to the next slide. This is the balance slide, but think about really what your body needs on a day-to-day basis. Training Peaks may say one thing, but your body may tell you another thing. You wake up in the morning, you're feeling really sluggish, you had to stay up late the night before getting work done or hanging out with friends, and you're tired and you have a early morning bike workout, and then you have a full day work, and then maybe something else that evening. Even if you don't have something else that evening, you have a full day that is demanding a lot out of you. So maybe that's a day that you just stay in bed and rest and get up and just do some push-ups and sit-ups, and that's fine. But really listening to your body and not just saying, I've got to do it, it's in Training Peaks. It's, it's definitely, I have to log it. Coach says I have to do it. No, actually, I would rather see you say, oh, coach, I had to sleep in. I needed 1 day of sleep. This is a message that I just got from a client this week. I needed 1 day to sleep in. I totally get that. So you need to keep your body well and keep yourself well. There are a lot of flu bugs and things going around right now. So rest will help you do that. Sleep is important, and also family time. So when I see people struggling or talking about their spouses is mad at them because they're never home, then I think that we can do something. So we can be creative. We could give you a day off on the weekend. It's just important to take the stress off of you and your family so that your body can be up for the challenge of the key workouts and races and things like that. So I think all of that is really important. And if anybody wants to talk about specifics, then we can do that in our one-on-one meetings. Let's go to the next slide. So off-season strategies, working on limiters. So what the heck is a limiter? Limiter could be so many different things. It's not just, weak legs or something like that. So limiters could be time. If time held you back from getting in your important key workouts or really getting good quality workouts, maybe your bike fit is off. Maybe you just bought your bike early in the season, just never really took the time to seek out a professional bike fit. I can help you with that. Maybe sleep is a limiter. You just were walking around tired all the time, and every time you got up to do a workout, you felt tired, so you never really got the quality workout in. So it could be sleep. It could be weakness in an area or in one of the disciplines. So it could be that you're really weak on the bike, and because maybe you just don't have the time to put in, or you haven't been doing any strength training on the bike, but you just do a couple of bike workouts a week, and maybe that's not enough. So there are different ways that we can make you stronger on the bike. A lot of people are joining Power Up, and a lot of people do this One Bike Run CompuTrainer, but those are great ways to build strength right now and throughout the season. We give you appropriate workouts depending on where you are in the season. So you're not going to always be working on intervals specific to your next A race. And I want you to look at some of these on these slides, some of the quotes that Jennifer picked out for us. I really like them. Some definitely worth looking at daily. So those are some ideas. Well, other limiters could be, some people had a nagging injury, a couple of us had plantar problems and things like that. They're just nagging. You can still train with them, but you can't really train your best. You can't really push as hard at the track, or you can't really climb hills on your bike because you have this little nagging thing that we don't want to get worse. So let's just knock that out in the off season, figure out what we need to do, whether it's total rest in one of the disciplines or all three disciplines, and just do other things, which I can help with, is really important. And then become late winter, early spring, then you've gotten rid of that injury and you're ready to work on being fresh and well for the next spring. So, and then we have a really good base to start with. Incorporating more strength sessions, I encourage that in the off season, and you'll probably see that reflected in your training peaks. But we have our strength on Monday, and there might be a change coming up on that, but it would be a positive change. And then we also have Amy, who is doing the Monday night classes, and she's offered a punch card for that. That's a yoga and core class, which is fantastic. I would highly recommend that, and it's not expensive. I think we could all work it into our off season and make that a nice addition to our workouts. And again, it's about injury prevention and strengthening your whole core and your body and increasing flexibility. I haven't even really mentioned that, but increasing flexibility. As you increase strength, you become a little bit tighter and less flexible. So doing some yoga and extra stretching is also important. We're working on a workshop for foam rolling, stretching, and using the tools like the rollers and the balls that people use to roll on. They can be dangerous. You can hurt yourself on them. So it's a good idea to get some good guidance on that. So we're working on a workshop that should be happening here shortly. That will be, I think, valuable to us for the off season and beyond. So trying something new. You have seen, I like this picture of Alicia. She was doing the trail series, the Alpine Shop Trail series, and they got to run through creeks. I think Stan did that one as well. But I'm also encouraging people to try mountain biking. I think that's Wendy up on top. But mountain biking is a lot of fun, but I don't pressure you because it is risky. That's why we only do it in the off season, ideally. But it's also, you don't have to go to the super technical trails like Castlewood or Chubb Trail or anything crazy like that. You don't have to. There are flat trails at Castlewood that are fantastic and very safe, I should say. But it really is nice to kind of get off the street and be out in the woods and enjoy the outdoors in a little bit different way. So there is a group in our there are several in our group that have either gravel bikes or mountain bikes. Last year, a bunch of us would get together at the Katy Trail. We'd pick a eating establishment and we would meet on our gravel bikes or mountain bikes, or even some people brought hybrids and just like little Katy Trail rental bikes. And we'd go do an endurance ride, and then we'd stop because you can bundle up even if it's like 35 degrees. We'd bundle up, go do our ride, and come back and have a fun meal together. So, but we still got a great workout in. It was just something just different to get away from the monotony that I put you through. Trying a different pool sometimes is fun. There are some master's classes that there is a 50-meter pool here and there that you can do master's classes in. They're just different master's coaches. I have that Parkway West swim that will start back up in October or November. I'm in touch with Andy to try to find out when we can start that back up. But that was from 8:30 to 10 on Sundays. Some of us would run before and some would ride after. And most of us would go and get breakfast instead of riding right after. So different things like that I would highly encourage. The gravel's a lot of fun. I know Frank just got a new gravel bike. I use my gravel bike for everything, commuting or gravel races. Jay and I just go out and tool around. They're just fun. You can hop on sidewalks and you can take them on trails even. So just some ideas, but trail running too. Skippo Run is coming up, and there are some great trail races if you want to talk about that. So let me know if you want any suggestions. And I also hope to do some trail racing starting up in the fall, probably in October on Saturdays. So I'll keep you all posted on that, of course. So next is, oh wait, that last slide I didn't really talk about. So brought this up earlier, is Power Up or Swim, Bike, Run CompuTrainer classes. So they're fantastic. You can see on this slide a little bit of the data, but you'll have the data right in front of you, and you will be able to see your data as you ride. So it's very valuable, and then that file gets loaded into Training Peaks. Okay, I just had to make sure my sound was working. So Anyway, if you have any questions about Swim, Bike, Run or Power Up, let me know. But great resources, very safe because you're riding inside. We do a functional threshold power test so we can measure your fitness improvements, which is great. And Power Up, we always have a coach on the floor that's helping and walking around, looking at your data, seeing if you have any questions. So it's great. Okay, this one is about working on your limiters now. So I think we can all figure out some kind of limiter or weakness. And I talked about what some of those things might be, but let's start a plan to get rid of those over the off season. And maybe, when you choose your races, and I'll talk about that up here soon, but maybe you choose a race that does challenge you, that challenges those weaknesses and limiters. A lot of times we say, focus on your strengths. If you want to do really, really well in a race and you're great on flats, maybe, if you're doing your first half or your first full or something like that, then yeah, you want to be as comfortable as possible and go with what you're strong at. But maybe you've done a couple half Ironman and your strength is on flats and you hate hills. Well, time to work on hills and maybe do one of the Ultramax races. So challenge yourself in different ways. And then also looking back at the races and your race summaries on the races that you did and different aspects that you liked about them and didn't like about them, and consider doing those same races and redeeming yourself or moving on to a different race. So that's why I like to have the race summaries and I like to put them in Training Peaks. Okay, so planning your optimal performance, planning your year for optimal performance. So again, do you want to choose a race that will highlight your strengths that you can crush? Or do you want to challenge yourself and try to improve as an athlete in a couple of different ways? So your A race is your key race of the season. So I would say if you're just choosing to do maybe a couple of half Ironman races next season, make one of them an A, not both of them. Make maybe the first one a B race as kind of a test for your A race. But really, one or two A races are plenty. And then B race, benchmark race, or checkpoint for your A race prep. So usually, and I'll use this as an example because it's an easy one, but Ironman, I usually like someone to do a half Ironman somewhere in maybe 6 months out or so, or 6 weeks out or so. So, or a couple months out. So it's just a great way to say, okay, is your nutrition working? Are you good at pacing? Are you able to pace yourself through that distance? Where did you have problems in the race? What do we need to work on? Because we still have time before your A race. So B race is great for that. And sometimes it could be an Olympic in preparation for a half, or an Olympic in preparation for a more difficult Olympic, or a destination Olympic or something like that. So choosing B races, and really a couple of B races, but 1 or 2 B races behind each A race is good. But sometimes people, even if they're training for an Ironman, they might choose some B races, the races around town, for instance. They might choose some of those as a B race because they want to see how they can do. And that can be tricky because a lot of times if you're training for an Ironman, you're training for a long, slow distance, really. Slow in comparison to a sprint race, right? So it's hard to demand a very successful sprint race out of your body when you're not training for that. And it's hard to incorporate that kind of training when I'm really trying to work on other things, your aerobic base and your muscular endurance, not your speed as much, your short distance speed. So that can get tricky, but it's kind of fun to test it out, and it's a good speed workout, and it's just more great experience. So a C race is more of just a workout. So that one, and it's hard for people to do this because they get in the race environment and they want to race and they don't want to just sit back and do the workout and follow their heart rate zones and things like that. So But if you can be disciplined, a sea race can be very valuable. And some of the sea races that I like, I have listed here. So Century Ride, just for the experience of it, or maybe just because you want to work on endurance. It is, but again, it's another workout. Sometimes I have people that want to see what they can do on a Century Ride in training for their Ironman. So that might be a B race. Endurance trail run, it's risky. And a lot of fun though. So, but again, it doesn't have to be a high priority race, but certainly in the off season, you can have an A race like that as well. So I have people that like to do the ultra endurance, either gravel rides or mountain bike rides or trail runs. And it's just, again, a great way to kind of break up your training in the off season, but you're still definitely holding on to some strength and skill and really working on skill. The gravel and mountain bikes will help you with bike handling and things like that. The Snowball and Frostbite series runs, a lot of people that I'm coaching are doing those. So that's a great way too to keep your running going through the winter. You can treat them as training days or you can treat them as races, and we can kind of talk about that as we work on your schedule and see what we want to do with those. But sometimes it's also a good heart rate test. But great fun, and a lot of people turn out no matter what the weather. So I'd highly recommend those. And you can do them as a series. You can win a whole series award too. So I like that. A little bit more about off season. So, oh, and I want to talk a little bit more about A, B, and C races. So A, B, and C, let's just say your A race is the St. Louis Triathlon. Maybe your B race is Tri-Zoo. So Tri-Zoo, you could still race it, but it's kind of a test to see where you are, to see maybe what you need to work on in the St. Louis Tri, or in Tri-Zoo. And then another example would be A race is Ironman Louisville. B race, which a lot of people are doing this combo, is Steelhead. And then a C race is maybe the St. Louis Tri. We're doing it just to be out there with everyone. It's a lot of fun. Again, it's like speed work. You can still work at it, but it's just another workout. It's not your A. So we won't really necessarily taper you for it. Again, this is something I talk to people about as the race gets closer. How do you want to do at this race? Let's figure out what we need to do with your training and how you can still get your key workouts in for your A race. So also, we have our fall camp coming up at the end of October, and that's a great way, I like to just say, to segue from all this swim, bike, run stuff to just fun. Everybody gets together. We just have a great time. We do some trail running, some hiking, some mountain biking, yoga, just different things. So it's a lot of fun, and you can come out just for the day if you'd like. I just have like a meal fee if you want to come out and eat some food and hang out with everyone and do the bike rides. But we have an agenda for that coming out here soon. It's in my head right now. I just have to get it on paper. And our next webinar, again, the same format. So I'll have the webinar ready, and then Jennifer will email it out to those that sign up online. And you'll be able to see the whole webinar and hopefully hear it. Hopefully everything is working properly today, but it seems to be. But our next one is on Training Peaks Explained. And I say Training Peaks, it's not necessarily a feature of Training Peaks only. These are metrics that are used to analyze data. So what the heck is TSS, CTL, etc.? So a lot of you in our meetings will ask what it is. And I think this will be a great opportunity for me to just kind of give you a blanket explanation of the basics of it. And, you know, how reliable are these charts in Training Peaks? How can we as a team, you and me, make them more reliable to be able to use them as analysis or just a quick snapshot of where we are in your season with your fitness. It can also help me determine if you need a day of rest or 2 days of rest or something like that. So if all the data that's going in there is correct. So I hope you can sign up for that one. So yeah, if you sign up for them, then you'll get all of the information emailed. But let me know if you have any follow-up questions on this off-season training and building your annual training plan. And thank you so much for your interest. All right. Bye-bye.